Hello Frugal fans, once again this is the Frugal Gamer and I'm reviewing my stash to save you cash. And today I'm going to be reviewing Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate for the PlayStation Vita. You know, who doesn't love the Dark Knight? With a recent supply of great Batman games on the consoles, one needs to ask, how does this one hold up? You can find this game new for around $19.99. If you're looking for it used to save a little bit, you can get it at GameStop for around $17.99. But I was not able to find it very well at 99 Gamers or on Craigslist. But I did find it on eBay between $8 and $15. This game is a 2.5 dimensional game simulating 3D. It was created by Armature Studios and released by Warner Brothers originally for the Nintendo 3DS and PlayStation Vita handheld games. Once again, I'm reviewing the Vita version. Later on, this was also expanded and put on consoles. Now, the developers used many of the features from the main console games, such as grappling, gliding, crouching, and climbing that we're used to, but they implemented them in this 2.5 space, while supplementing other gadgets as well as the batarang. You have the bat claw, explosive gel, you have a grappling gun used to get to higher points in the environment. But unlike the console games in the series, this game does not feature an experience point system. Instead, you are looking for Wayne Tech crates to gather parts to either get upgraded bat suits as well as weapons. The combat system seems very similar to the other Arkham games, but it seems more scaled down. Batman still moves to the left or right, but he has the ability to be in the foreground or the background. The game continues to have the detective mode as well, allowing you to see key things like where the villains are looking and things like that, weak walls that you can break, special vantage points, grates, things like that. The game also includes the great things like those glide kicks, the awesome silent takedowns that we're used to from the console versions. This game is somewhat linear though. Yet you can choose which villain you want to take on first. The game offers side missions as well that help the player piece together the events that led to an explosion which caused a mass breakout in the Arkham Blackgate prison. As such, the game features multiple endings based on which boss the player faced last. So you have three distinct bosses, and based on Joker, Penguin, or Black Mask, it just varies the ending a little bit. Now, Origins Blackgate features a variety of characters from the history of Batman comics. The main character, of course, is Batman, which is voiced over by Roger Craig Smith. He's also informed and given information by James Gordon. The game also has the Joker, Penguin, Black Mask, Catwoman, Deadshot, Bronze, Tiger, Solomon Grundy, Bane, Amanda Waller, Captain Rick Flag, and all of them have great voice acting to it. I personally love the part of the game with Solomon Grundy. The majority of this game does take place in Blackgate Prison, which some people did complain about. What happens is the game takes place 3 months after the events of Arkham Origins. An explosion at Blackgate Prison allows Joker, Penguin, and Black Mask to each gather enough henchmen in order to take over their own section of the prison. Batman goes to investigate, but he quickly learns there's more to this situation than meets an untrained eye. The cutscenes in this game, as I've shown, look more like a comic book. They're hand-drawn, with spectacular voice acting included. The game adds interesting camera angles to help give you a 3D feel, even though it's really only in 2D. You notice here I'm showing the map. I'm going to get to this in a little bit. This is one of the negatives, in my opinion, about the game. It's just the map's feature isn't real great. You also see here you have many other items I'm showing that I'm going to go through, and I show a little bit about the bat suits. Now let's look at some of the pros and cons of this game. Right? First of all, the game has solid graphics. I personally think this game has absolutely amazing voice work. The story in the game is generally very good. You have great bat gadgets. The game has that great Batman feel to it and character. You don't lose that. It has a great cast of villains, and the game has a good amount of challenge. The game has very solid graphics, especially for a portable. But some people did complain about the lack of different locations in the game, but I didn't see that as an issue. As you'll see here on the screen, I'm showing how the 2.5 is displayed more like a 3D image, it's simulated. If you notice, the screen will shift here, even though you're still really only going like left and right, but it gives you that feeling of 3D. The game does feature different suits for Batman. As I said, each one, though, has their own abilities. They're made available as you find and complete the suit using the crates, the Wayne Tech crates. But you can get, if you have Arkham Origins for PlayStation 3, you can get the Batman Beware the Batman skin right away. The game also has some replayability, since the game you can take on the villains in a different order, and after you beat it, you get the plus mode, which adds a little bit more complexity to it. Now that I've looked at that, let's look at some of the cons of the game. Unfortunately, you cannot make Batman jump. Watch here. You have to roll over those things. The combat system seems scaled down as well compared to the others in the series. and you end up going back and forth a lot in the same locations looking for things. The game map, as I mentioned briefly, could be improved. On several occasions, I found it more of a hindrance finding things than helpful. Now, I would also like more in-depth boss fights. Some were very simple, but I have to be honest, they were still interesting. The game could use more action sequences, possibly adding more villains or henchmen would help. Even consider adding randomized henchmen, because once you beat them in an area, they never return, and you're just going back and forth in blank space. Overall, I'm going to grade this game based on two different views. One for as alone, and one as if it's part of the series of the Batman games. So first, as part of the series, I think the game's good. You'll find, though, it could have been better, and you'll find yourself wanting more. The game does not quite measure up, but let's be fair. We're comparing them to fantastic Batman console games. The fights are not as intense as they are in the other games, and you have less movements. The 2.5D leaves you wanting a 3D experience that you're used to. The comic story segments are good, but they're just not the cinematics that we're used to from the Batman series. Even with that said, this game would still be decent, especially for a portable addition to the adventure. I would say it's well worth spending $15 on. Now let's look at it as if it was just its own game in the series. If you're looking at this game on its own, I found it to be a good game with some minor issues, such as, again, I said the map. It causes more confusion than help in some cases. The game provides a great set of characters, and they are all voiced incredibly well. The cinematics are good, and they give a good feel of a comic book. The game was good, but it was really not making me want to jump in and play through it again. Maybe I'd want to play it again more if I didn't have a stack of games waiting for me to play that I've never played before. Overall, I do think this game is worth buying, especially if you like the character Batman, or if you're a fan of games like Metroid, where you search for things and get to do some battles. I would say this game is definitely worth spending up to $15 on. As you can see here, I'm showing some of the great cinematics here that this game has the capability of doing and did do. This is one of those scenes where at the very beginning of the game, the only time you're outside of Arkham, which was one of the complaints. So as you see here, the game has the absolute capability of doing these great cinematic scenes, but did give us the comic book type of scenes, which once again I didn't find as a bad thing. It's just I'm used to more. You'll see here as I show in the fighting, you have these great fight scenes too, great graphics in that, but you're very limited on what you can do in comparison to others. Here's some of the uses of the Bat gadgets that you can get in the game. So overall, it's a good game. If you like Batman, I don't think you're wasting your money. It just won't be quite the level you're used to, especially replayability, if you've been playing the other games in the Batman Origin series. So once again, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this review, and I hope you found it helpful. So once again, if you did like it, I appreciate it. Please make sure you hit like, tell your friends and things, hit subscribe to help out continuing the site. Thank you. Keep it frugal.